"Don't touch the armor," Commander Lien had said before leaving. "It's symbolic. They treat it like a second skin. Just clean the wounds you can reach." I nodded, pretending to understand. But when the door hissed shut, and it was just me and her, I saw the way her breathing hitched, shallow and pained, beneath the plating. Her right arm was mangled beneath the vambrace, blood dripping through the cracks. I activated the scanner and frowned. "The bone's fractured in 3 places," I murmured. "If I don't get that off, it'll fuse wrong." She didn't respond. Her eyes followed me warily, predator-sharp. I reached for a sterilizer cloth, wiping the grime from her armor, just enough to see the wound beneath. "This might sting a bit," I said quietly. Her gaze narrowed. "Human, why do you warn me?" I hesitated. "Because it's the decent thing to do." For a moment, she said nothing. Then, with a faint hum, the segmented armor along her forearm unlocked, shifting and retracting in slow, mechanical ripples. She let me in. That was the first time anyone said she'd ever done that. I cleaned the blood, sealed the fracture with biofoam, and steadied her arm while the nanites worked. Her muscles trembled beneath my touch. I tried to be gentle, to treat her like any other patient, but when I looked up, she was staring at me with something I couldn't quite name. "You do not flinch," she said finally. "Should I?" Her lips curved slightly, not a smile, more a grim curiosity. "Your kind fears mine, yet you touch me as if I am fragile." I looked down at her hand. "You're injured, not fragile." That made her laugh, though the sound was rough, like a blade scraping stone. "You are strange, human. Get used to it," I said softly. Middle. The walls start to fall. Days passed. The interrogators came and went, asking their questions. She never answered them. Not once. But when they left, I'd find her looking at me, not hostile, but curious. When her bandages needed changing, she never fought me. She didn't speak much, but I started to notice small things. The way her hand would hover near mine, never quite touching. The way her eyes would flick to my mouth when I spoke, as if trying to understand not just my words, but the intent behind them. On the 7th day, she asked me my name. "Evan," I said. "Evan Hale." She repeated it slowly, tasting it like something foreign. "Evan." Then, with a strange kind of gravity, she said, "Vera." Her name sounded like a storm breaking over steel. Later, while changing the dressing on her shoulder, I noticed a deep scar that ran from her collarbone down to her ribs. Old, healed, but brutal. A mark of a battle she'd survived. I hesitated. This must have hurt like hell. Her voice was quiet. "Pain is survival. It reminds me I live." I looked at her, at the faint shimmer of her markings, at the exhaustion behind her eyes. "That's not living," I said. "That's just enduring." Her gaze snapped to mine. For a heartbeat, I thought I'd gone too far, that I'd broken whatever fragile trust we'd built. But instead, she asked, "And what is living human?" I swallowed. "Having someone care if you don't make it." She didn't reply, but her expression softened. That was the first time she looked sad. That night, the station alarm screamed. Then attack. The enemy fleet, Vera's own, had found us. I rushed to the med bay as explosions rocked the corridors. The guards were gone, most of the crew evacuating. When I reached her cell, she was already standing, eyes glowing faintly, the energy cuffs flickering with every tremor. She turned to me. "Release me, Evan." I hesitated. "If I do, you'll—" "I will fight," she said, "but not for them." She stepped closer, chains rattling. "Not against you." Outside, the ceiling panels cracked, and smoke filled the hall. I didn't have time to doubt her. I keyed in the override code. The cuffs snapped open. She flexed her wrists, then looked at me. "You are brave," she said quietly. "Or foolish." "Usually both," I said.
She actually smiled this time.
We fought our way to the evacuation hangar, me with a pulse rifle I barely knew how to use, her moving like a living weapon, intercepting drones and cutting through armor with blinding speed. She shielded me more than once, taking hits that would have vaporized me. When the hangar doors finally sealed behind us and the ship detached, I collapsed into a seat, shaking. She turned toward me, blood streaking her cheek. "You risked your life for me," she said. "I didn't exactly plan to." I breathed. "You could have left me." "Yeah," I said. "But I didn't." She was silent for a long time. Then, very softly, she asked, "Why?" I looked up at her, the warrior who'd once terrified half the fleet, and saw, beneath all the strength, a glimmer of something fragile, something human. "Because someone should," I said simply. The voyage and the question. We drifted for days through the wreckage field, hiding from sensors. I patched the ship where I could, and she worked silently beside me. Sometimes she'd hum under her breath, a low tone that resonated in the hull, part song, part memory. When I asked what it was, she said it was a morning call for her people, a way to honor those they'd lost. One night, as I recalibrated the NAV array, I noticed her sitting by the viewport, staring at the stars. The starlight reflected in her eyes like molten silver. She spoke without looking up. "Evan, your people call us monsters. Do you believe that?" I considered the question carefully. "I've seen humans do worse things," I said. That made her look at me sharply. "You would compare us to your own kind?" "Everyone bleeds red in some way," I said. For a long while, she said nothing. Then she turned fully to face me, her voice quieter now. "When you cleaned my wounds, when you touched me without fear, I did not understand. No one has ever treated me so gently." I felt a flush rise to my face. "You were hurt. That is not what I mean." She stood, stepping closer until I could feel the faint heat radiating from her skin. "You looked at me not as a weapon, but as something worth saving." I couldn't meet her gaze. My heart was hammering too loudly. Then she asked, almost in a whisper, "Why were you so gentle?" I swallowed hard. I wanted to say it, to tell her that the moment I'd seen her eyes soften, I knew she deserved a world that didn't hurt her anymore. But the words caught in my throat. "Because I started, then stopped. Because you deserved it." Her expression wavered, part disbelief, part ache. She reached out, fingers brushing my jaw, tentative as if afraid I'd pull away. I didn't. She leaned closer. "Among my people, touch means trust," she murmured. "Do you trust me, Evan Hale?" I nodded. "I do." Her hand lingered there for a moment longer before she stepped back, looking conflicted, as though something inside her had shifted, ending the choice. Eventually, the Terran fleet found us. They hailed our beacon, ordered me to return for debriefing, and demanded the alien prisoner be surrendered. But when I looked at Vera, standing quietly by the viewport, watching the human ships approach, I realized I couldn't hand her over. "They'll dissect you," I said. "They'll want to know what makes you different." She looked at me, calm and resigned. "Perhaps that is what I deserve." "No," I said sharply. "You deserve better than that." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she took a deep breath. "If you release me now, I will not return to war," she said softly. "I have seen enough death. I only wish to live somewhere the stars are." Quiet. My hands trembled over the console. If I was caught letting her go, I'd lose everything. Rank, freedom, maybe even my life. But I thought of the question she'd asked, why I was so gentle. And I realized this was my answer. I turned to her. Take the shuttle, I said. There's a colony world beyond the nebula. No sensors, no patrols. You can disappear there. Her eyes widened. You would do that for me? Yes. For the first time, her voice broke. Evan Hale, in another life. Perhaps I would have been brave enough to stay. She reached out, pressing her hand to my chest, right over my heart. Among my people, this means remembrance. I will not forget you. Then she was gone, a streak of light against the darkness. Epilogue. Weeks later, I stood before the tribunal. I told them the truth, that she'd escaped during the chaos, that I'd lost track of her ship in the debris field. They demoted me, reassigned me to a remote colony medical unit. Sometimes, when the night sky is clear, I look up and see a faint shimmer, a pulse of silver light where the nebula burns brightest. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's her. But I still remember that moment, her voice soft, uncertain. Why are you so gentle? And my answer, the one I could never quite say aloud. Because no one ever was, and someone had to be.